Hi, Foster Gamble here, and I want to just take a few minutes to talk with you about the emerging and dangerous situation in Iran right now. And I'm not talking about their nuclear program. I'm talking about the saber rattling by the US and by Israel, threatening to attack them at any minute. Imagine what it would be like if you were living there right now with your loved ones. Imagine if China were threatening to invade the US right now. Believe it or not, I actually spend a fair amount of time watching network news. And why do I do that? Mainly because they can report almost instantly, because of their funding, on events happening around the world. And from there on, we're pretty much on our own. What I find myself doing is simultaneously translating or subtitling as if they were actually telling me the truth. So let's take a look in this situation in Iran and see if we can figure out what's actually really going on. So the usual claim now is that they need to be invaded because they're threatening to have a nuclear bomb. Well, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, has assured the world through their inspections that they're not even making a bomb. And just a few years ago, the US was offering over 24 nuclear reactors to the Shah. So there must be more than meets the eye going on here. I wonder why also the US should be the only ones to get to tell other people what kind of power and what kind of weapons they have. In my recollection, actually, the US is the only country to have actually dropped atom bombs on civilians, and we did it twice. Now, the usual thing that's spun out is the story that the crazy dictator Ahmadinejad has gone on record saying that he intends to wipe Israel from the face of the planet. Well, it turns out that that's not true. That's blatant propaganda. If you go back and actually listen to the speech, what he was calling for was regime change in Israel and the United States because of their behavior threatening and attacking the Arab neighbors in the Middle East. So let's look a little further. If we follow the money behind these claims, it turns out that Iran is already starting to trade their oil for gold rather than dollars, with India and China and Russia are lining up to do the same thing. Well, that would seriously undermine the value of the US dollar, since it's propped up only by confidence and military power, not actually by any commodities or strength in the international market. So if we look back in history, it turns out that Saddam Hussein had also talked about selling his oil for euros rather than dollars, and it was shortly after that that he was invaded. So let's take a look and see, maybe there's a strategy being used here again. Certainly the publicity, the propaganda in this lead up to a potential war in Iran sounds eerily similar to what happened in Iraq. So oftentimes what I train myself to do is look through the lens of problem, reaction, solution. This strategy that we talk about in Thrive. It's also called the shock doctrine or the strategy of tension, but basically it's a technique to create or utilize a problem, get an anticipated reaction, and then bring in a solution that would otherwise be unacceptable to the people. So in this situation, the problem is being built up as Iran's going to be too dangerous with a nuclear bomb. Now, just in the last few days, Obama has actually come out publicly with a second type of problem that he's identifying, that he refers to as the threat of Iran undermining the international community in its global economic policy. Now, what he's really beginning to refer to here a little bit more blatantly is this selling for gold rather than for dollars. But anyway, this is the problem, and we're being set up again. So oftentimes when there's a problem, there's a false flag operation attached to it, like there was in the Gulf of Tonkin, like there was in 9/11, many other incidents that you can explore on our website. But what I want to encourage people to watch out for here is that something like the USS Enterprise, which is a big but old aircraft carrier, has been moved to the Straits of Hormuz. It's scheduled for decommission next year. So it could be very convenient for the US to pretend that it was attacked and sunk It has 3 nuclear reactors on it, so the waste would go there. It wouldn't cost billions to decommission it, and they could potentially use that as an excuse to get into war against Iran. So what's the reaction that they're looking for? It's fear on the part of Americans that their oil prices are going to rise, or that our friends in Israel are going to be attacked. And what's the solution that they're looking for? I believe that the solution they're looking for is justification to invade Iran, undermine the selling of oil for dollars, prop up the dollar a little bit longer, and justify taking over their oil and trade routes. So what can we do as individuals in this situation? First of all, I just recommend that you continue to translate as effectively as you can whatever news you're listening to into what you think is really true. Secondly, I highly recommend that you spread this blog and keep sharing the movie Thrive so that people can have a context for what's really going on behind the curtains with these sorts of world events. And then get yourself informed on our site and others about the nature of false flag operations and spread the word. And finally, I recommend that you protest and withdraw support from any politicians in this election year who are for going to war against Iran or against Syria or any of these similar types of foreign invasions under trumped up pretenses. So your constructive suggestions are deeply desired. Feel free to leave them in the comment thread at the bottom of this blog. Thanks for listening. I'll look forward to talking with you next time. Bye-bye.